I'm Peter Ball, and this is Talking Inspiration. And in this series, we're going to be talking to people who are influential and also inspire from the Northeast tech scene. And in this first episode, we're going to be talking to Paul Lancaster, who runs the platform events in Sunderland and Newcastle and also organises Startup Week as well.
Hi, Peter. Thank you for inviting me onto your show. Delighted to be here.
Thank you very much. Great to have you on the show. Okay, so Paul, tell us about yourself.
I guess what I do is I build audiences for businesses. That's a very succinct way to describe what I do. But the thing that I mostly do at the moment, I run a monthly event called Platform, which you've said, in Sunderland and Newcastle, which is all about inspiring people who want to start and grow a business. It's all about educating people about the opportunities that are out there in terms of funding, events and support available. And I also feature successful entrepreneurs and business leaders who are sharing challenges overcome, lessons learned, and advice for others who want to follow in their footsteps. The annual event, the Startup Week event, I did 3 of those before the lockdown. Last one had just over 800 people, and I'm doing one in Sunderland next year. But again, it's all about bringing all the best advice and support together in one place. Also do some coaching, and I do some business development and marketing consultancy as well. But everything's all focused on helping people start and grow businesses.
Yeah, no, that's really good to hear. I mean, there's a lot going on in the Northeast, and it's great that you're sort of part of that. I was also honoured to also speak at one of the platform events as well about our company Clearanton, help people get into podcasting.
You did great. I was very impressed with you.
Yeah, I know. I was inspired by the other speakers as well. You know, it was great to hear stories from so many people who are starting a business in the Northeast. So when it came to starting our own business with my wife Dawn, it was fantastic to have that opportunity to speak there and talk about the business and just get great feedback about our business as well. So it's definitely a good part of the Northeast tech scene, you know, gives people an opportunity to talk about their business and also hear from others as well and who are further along in their journey as well, which is really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot going on, but I've been in this world, in the whole startup, small business world for about 20 odd years. I've done stuff across the whole of the UK and overseas, but most of my focus is on the Northeast. And what I found is, despite all the great support and all the activity going on, people still don't know necessarily where to go for that advice and support. So I'm creating a platform, like a ready-made platform, an audience for people to tap into in a very informal, relaxed and friendly and supportive environment where they can get the support and the collaboration that they need.
Yeah, it makes sense because a lot of people think you can't get that kind of support in the Northeast. A lot of people think, you know, tech companies in the Northeast, you know, people think of companies like Sage and that, but they don't really think about the new exciting startups that are choosing the Northeast to be their home. And it's great that sort of like events like yours sort of raise awareness of those companies who are not just moving here, but starting here, and people who live here are starting their own tech companies and, you know, building them up and staying in the Northeast. It's really good to have events like yours, which encourage that.
Thank you. Yeah. But it's a key thing you said there. It's about inspiring and educating people who are already here, but definitely people who are outside the region who are thinking about doing stuff here in the Northeast as well. And I've definitely had people over the years who they've come to my, like the larger event, the Startup Week event, and they've said they were thinking about doing something here in the Northeast, but then they've come to the event, they've seen all the great support in one place and gone away excited and said, yeah, we're definitely going to relocate or we're going to open an office here. So, and also there's a lot of people talk about the brain drain. You know, I don't know if people still talk about that, but like there's a talent attraction and there's a talent retention angle to what I do as well.
Yeah,
I want people to stay here. I want the best talent to stay here and to move here.
No, it makes sense. Exactly. A lot of people think they have to go down south to get a job in the tech sector. They don't think that right here, the very job they're looking for could be on their doorstep. And it might just be a lack of awareness. And that's where you sort of come in to sort of make them aware of all the things that come up, and you bring people up to the region and show them how good it is. They want to come here all the more. You know, once they're aware of what's happening here, which you're really helping with, that's what makes a difference. You know, there's a lot going on here. And sometimes just like, if only people knew how great it was, they would invest more here, and they do. And that's great to see that, you know, you've really been critical to bringing more companies up here. You know, I've known you for a while, and, you know, I remember sort of the early days of the startup scene and all those companies that were starting up, and many of them are still around today. And it's great to see that still continues through to now. It just makes the Northeast as one of those kind of places where you think we should be more well known for this amazing tech sector that we have. And what you're doing is exactly that, bringing more awareness to that.
Doing my best, trying.
Okay, Paul. So I asked you to bring in an object that meant something to you. So can you tell us what it is and can you show it to us?
Yeah, so it's hidden underneath I think is it a handkerchief or is it a tea towel? I'm not quite sure, but it's hidden underneath something. So, do you want to have a look at it?
Yeah, I'll have a look.
Know what that is? Exciting for the listeners. So it's
Yes, exactly. I know it's for those listening. It's
Antiques Roadshow.
yeah, it's like it's a medallion that's about 3 centimeters in width, and it's got an inscription on the back. It says, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." And on the front, it says, "The obstacle is the way." And it's like an engraving of a mountain with a trail going up it.
Yeah, very good. So some listeners might know exactly what that is, but have you heard of Stoicism? Do you know what Stoicism is?
No?
No, so it's like an ancient Greek philosophy.
Okay.
So, like the obstacle is a way is like quite a well-known phrase in that. But yeah, basically there's always a way out, or there's always another route to success.
Okay.
But yeah, I didn't really know anything about Stoicism. I'm into history and I'm into philosophy, and then it was actually just before the lockdown. I met someone who was really into Stoicism, and when she explained what it was, I was like, that sounds awesome. That sounds like right up my street. And during the lockdown, like a lot of people, found it difficult during the lockdown, but I definitely found a lot of comfort and support, I suppose, in Stoicism, Stoic philosophy. So reading books like The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday, and he's got a book called The Obstacle is the Way as well, and various others. But it's the general gist of it is that bad things can and will happen, or people might say or do bad things, but at the end of the day, you're ultimately in control how you respond to that,
Okay.
if at all. So it's about being in control of your emotions and how you respond to situations, so even in the most difficult of situations. So yeah, as well as the lockdown, I did have a difficult time in my personal life. I've spoken about this before. I did go through a divorce. I had to move out of the family home, and then found it difficult. My business, like a lot of people, income fell off a cliff. So there was a lot going on, but I got through it. And Stoicism was just an important part of that. So, but I like the message in there, and entrepreneurs in particular, I think, they back themselves. They have belief that they can make things happen, and they can, in difficult situations, they can find a way out.
Yeah. No, that's really...
Carry that in my wallet.
That's really good. That makes sense. So that's something you carry around all the time.
Oh, yeah, it's always in my wallet. I don't always look at it, but it's always whenever I get something out there. So yeah, I know it's there, and it's a good reminder.
That's excellent. Yeah, it's always good to know that there's an option, especially if someone's starting a company out. They may face difficulties. I mean, obviously everyone faced difficulties with lockdown, but it's kind of good to know what's the next direction I can take. How do I pick myself up? What opportunities can you take? Is there an opportunity that's on the horizon that you could look at, or any alternatives? Maybe you could do something different. Maybe there's something you've always wanted to do and never tried. So it's great to have that kind of philosophy of looking at another path, for yourself. So that's really interesting to have.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I think as well about like the lean startup. Eric Ries, that's like the Bible of tech and digital companies. So, like, totally believe in that, and I've used lean startup principles when I've created new products or services, or even the events that I've created. I've taken that approach where you do small little experiments, little iterations. You test and you measure, and if it works, you do more of it, and if it doesn't, you stop and you change direction. So yeah, like I say, it's a reminder in your sort of personal life, but also your business life. There's always a way. There's always another way.
That's a great story about that medallion. So where did you get it from? It's not the kind of thing it looks like you can just buy anywhere.
Yeah, so I mentioned before, it's a friend of mine, Katie Stidolf, who she's young lady in her 20s, like very old beyond her years, but she used to come to my events, and after one of the events, she just started telling me about this Stoic philosophy. I was like, bloody hell, this sounds amazing. It sounds right up my street. And I think she didn't know at the time, but I was going through a difficult, like I say, the beginnings of the end, I suppose, of the marriage, you know. And then so I was kind of thinking ahead, and then and because I'm into history, obviously, so just got to know her through that, and then just really inspired by her, the way she talked about it. And then me and her, actually, during the lockdown, we did do a video interview, which is on YouTube if anyone wants to watch it, where she goes into a lot of detail about Stoic philosophy and how it's helped her overcome adversity in her life. So we've shared our thoughts and how that's been useful to us on YouTube and in other videos that we've done together. And I have spoken to her about it a little bit in other podcasts, I think. Anyway, I think anyone can get it from the Ryan Holiday website. You can just order them. There's lots of other merchandise, like prints with the philosophical messages on it, and you can have a beautiful leather-bound book of the Daily Stoic and all kinds of other things. But there's a collection, I think, of about 5 or 6 of these different coins. So that was a gift, actually. I mentioned before, I sometimes do some coaching, some one-to-one coaching. And that coaching that I do seem to have hit on a bit of a niche where it's business owners, solo business owners often, or small business owners who are amazing, awesome at what they do. They're just a bit stuck, and they've maybe lost the mojo, or they feel a bit overwhelmed, and they've got a lot on their plate. And then so I'm through the coaching. It's like a 5-day program, 1 hour a day over 5 days, 5-star focus program. And the first session that we do is all about getting them to tell me like why they started their own business, what their inspiration was, what they were hoping to achieve, and where they're at now, what's getting in the way. And I usually do talk about this and this approach. And the rest of the week is all about getting them to see a different way and pivot. So it's been useful in ways I didn't think it would be.
No, it's good because it's a base, it's like a foundation for them to start on, because it's great that she sort of shared that with you at a time when you were kind of looking for a different way and you needed a different direction. So it's more than just carrying an object around in your wallet. It has that whole Stoic philosophy behind it. So is there anywhere where you've kind of done the same thing she did for you, where you've been at an event or something like that and sort of felt like someone could have, you've spoken to someone and they benefit from that sort of Stoic philosophy, shared the story that you've just shared today?
Yeah, but I don't think I've done it. I've not done it at an event, I don't think, no. So yeah, just on a one-to-one basis or the videos that we've done. I mean, it's not like a religion where you're compelled to share.
Yeah.
That's not part of it. It's usually quite personal to the individual and whether they find that useful or not. But I like to think of myself as a spiritual Stoic, because I'm quite, I don't know, I'm not necessarily like the secret. A lot of people talk about that, but I do believe in there's a guy called Mike Dooley who's written some great books, and one of them, again, that I was reading around about the time, is called Infinite Possibilities, and that's a lot about how thoughts, well, his phrase is thoughts become things. So be careful what thoughts you have, because if you think positively, and if you imagine this future sort of reality, that's not enough just to think about it. You have to follow it up with real world action. But you can manifest your own reality in your own life and your own success, as long as you follow up with what you said you're going to do. So anyway, I like that the spiritual aspect of believing in something, but then at the same time being quite very practical as well.
No, it makes sense, because I know I've always had that thing where if you do have a negative thought, to catch it. It's like, when you're doing anything, whether it's a business or a project you're working on, if you start thinking negatively, what happens if this doesn't work out? You just got to catch that thought. I've heard that before, because sometimes you do have to think positively. Sometimes there might be things going on in your life that you can't control, but to have just something like this to hook on to, just to give you that option, maybe there's another way. Maybe there's something maybe there's something I've overlooked. I've not realized there's another option. Maybe I need to make a change in my job, or just how I approach my job or my life or whatever. It's just taking those opportunities and something like this gives you a good foundation. So when you are starting like a business, you may be not sure, maybe things won't work out. You can't think that way. You've sometimes just got to do it. And if things go not to plan, then find that other way where it works out. It sounds like it's a good philosophy to start with.
Yeah, I think you've got to be optimistic and you've got to believe in what you're doing when you're starting your own business or being entrepreneurial. Otherwise, it won't work.
That was great to hear about the object you brought with us today. So the next thing is a photograph. That's something that might mean something to you as a location or someone you might know. So we asked you to bring along a photograph. So what did you bring along, Paul?
Yeah, so I've bought a photo of me and my kids, actually. It's probably a bit of a cliche, a bit of a stereotype, I don't know if you want me on the camera. That's me and my son Jake and my daughter Amber, who are a bit older now. This is a few years ago. But yeah, I mean, he's 15 now, she's 12. But I just love this photo because we're really happy in this. We are happy anyway, but yeah, that was a very happy moment. That was a holiday, just the three of us. We had, the marriage had ended, had moved out, but this year in particular, I think we just had a really great summer and a great year in particular where we had loads of fun, just the three of us. And that was at Gibbside, which is one of my favourite places to go as a family, or just, I love walking, I love exploring, I love being in the countryside or semi-rural areas. But it's just a reminder, and like, I love doing things that inspire me and inspire others, but hopefully I inspire these two as well, and that's important to me. I want to show them that whatever they want to do, they can achieve it if they put the mind to it and they put their effort in. And I like to think I'm a good role model for them, and they're two awesome kids who inspire me every time I see them. So yeah.
No, it's good. It's like, again, your family, you want to be not only inspiring them, but they're going to be inspired by you as well. The things you've done. That's a great moment to share, where you've really enjoyed things, especially when you've gone through some rough times, and that just represented that things can still be happy. You can still have a great, relationship and, enjoy some time with your kids when, and that was the sign that things were going in a different direction, but things were still positive. So that's a really good memory to share. I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I have lots of photos to choose up, but this one was one I've been looking at recently and just we're very, very happy with that photo. And like now they don't like posing for photos. You get the camera out, they put their hand over the face. And they don't like smiling because they're teenagers and pre-teens, but they were smiling.
You've caught them in that moment where
all three of us are. You could just tell we're radiating happiness in that.
Yeah, and it does come across, absolutely. No, that's a wonderful thing to share. Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much for that, Paul. Okay, so next, there's probably been lots of different times where you may have been out with people, maybe gone for a drink, gone for a meal. Is there any occasion like that where, something interesting or inspirational has happened to you in your life, a moment that really stands out for you?
I mean, this is difficult actually because I am fortunate. I have met some pretty awesome people over the years and been inspired at lots of events or rub shoulders with them. But I'm going to name drop. I did go for lunch with Graham Wiley, the founder of Sage, and I found him very inspiring. So it was about 5 years ago, I think. Actually, maybe longer. It was probably 2016 when I was still in the early days of starting my own business, and I was managing to get a bit of positive media coverage for what I was doing. And I got a phone call from a guy who works for a successful PR agency in the Northeast, and he said, "Oh, I've just read your article in the Journal, I think it was. I think Graham Wiley would like to meet you." And I was like, "All right, okay." Because actually in the interview, it was an interview, and it did say, "Who would you like to go for lunch with?" And I said, "Graham Wiley."
Yeah.
So this PR guy who was working with Graham had obviously seen that, and he said, give him a ring. This is his number." So I rang him and just said, "Oh, Graham, you not remember, but I used to work for Sage many years ago. And I've just had an article, and I said I would like to go for dinner." And your PR man said, "You might be interested." So he said, "Yeah, let's meet up for lunch." So we met at Close House, which is a amazing international golf course near Wylam, but it's also where Graham lives. So he lives in the mansion at Close House. That's his house, and the clubhouse is his. Is basically where he has his breakfast and his lunch, and he has all his meetings there and stuff. And he was just such a humble, down to earth guy, like very inspiring, and I'm drawn to people like that. I'm drawn to people who are successful but humble with it as well. That's my favorite type of entrepreneur and business owner, and it's something I hope I am and always would be. I mean, I'm not a Graham Wiley's level, but if I ever was as successful as he is, I think I would still stay humble and want to encourage and support others. And he gave me some great advice, and we had a lovely lunch together. And I think if I wanted to, I could give him a call in time, and
so you could have another dinner.
Yeah, so maybe it's about time I got back in touch with Graham. Yeah. But interestingly, a lot of people know about Sage, FTSE 100, hugely successful company, not just for the Northeast, but for the whole of the UK. One of the UK's biggest success stories when it comes to tech and digital software. But when he built that up, when he sold it, when he exited the company, he retired for a weekend, and then he started a new business again. He started TSG, I think, on the Monday.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, just a born entrepreneur.
Yeah,
he just got too much to offer and too young to retire. Probably never will.
Keeps himself busy, because that's the thing is, you've got a world famous company that started right here, and it's an amazing opportunity to have had dinner with the person, and the fact that they remain humble as well. To have a company as large as them that everyone's heard of in some way or another, and just to be able to meet the person and potentially have another dinner with them if he wanted to is absolutely fantastic.
No, I think the other thing I'll just quickly say on that is that, the fact that I said I would like to have dinner with him, because like when they asked me that question, I was like, well, this is an opportunity. Like, exactly. You never know, thoughts become things. I meant, put it out there, and then you never know what's going to happen. But the fact I've put it out there resulted in something.
Yeah, it happened, and it wouldn't have happened any other way, So that's a really great stuff.
So who are we going to have a lunch with, Peter? Who do you want to have lunch with?
That's a really good question. Who would I have lunch with? I guess it's like, it would be somebody, I suppose, in a very similar vein, somebody who would be good to sort of learn more about. There's so many people who kind of stand out, including yourself. So maybe we'd have a group dinner, maybe with a few people from the Northeast, and just have a chat.
You got to think bigger than me, You're going
to. You'd definitely be in there. I think as a group, it'd be great, because there's so much that goes on here, and it's one of those things that when I'm traveling around, I'm always talking about how great it is here, and they're always surprised to hear it. A lot of people associate the Northeast with what it used to be rather than what it is now, and they kind of go, "Really? It's like that?" They don't expect it of us, and I like to kind of break that expectation and show them, you come up to here and see what it's like, and you'll be very surprised. I always say that to people. So during this dinner, you would have obviously talked about a few different things, and you mentioned he said a few things that inspired you. Can you share any of those things with us now?
Tough, yeah. I knew you were going to ask that. So, I mean, it was a while ago. I'll have to think a bit more about it. But I mean, like, a lot of people do say you don't always remember what people say, but you remember how they make you feel. That's a politician's answer. But I think that was the key thing. It was the vibe and but he's just he is. You would not know he was a mega successful guy. You would just think he was just a normal bloke. But yeah, just very, very encouraging, and in a way I wasn't expecting. Interested in what I was doing. Actually, I was trying to get him to speak at my Startup Week event, and he did say he doesn't like public speaking. He's very shy, so he really doesn't like doing it. He said, "I've done it in the past, and I struggle. I find it difficult to do that." Yeah. So maybe get him on a podcast. He might be more comfortable on a podcast.
Maybe it'd be good
to speak in front of lots of other people.
Yeah, exactly.
He's your next guest.
He may be. That would be fantastic if he could be on the show. Tech leaders from the Northeast as well would be great to speak to me, especially somebody like him. I mean, the fact he's been able to remain humble, and you can be nervous speaking in front of an audience. I've done like big presentations, and I did them for a few people to begin with, but you just get on. But then sometimes it is easier just to speak one-on-one like we're doing now. So yeah, it's a good opportunity for him to sort of share his story, a massive success story with a well-known company, with a great guy who's really humble about what he's done. He would be really great to talk to. Okay, Paul, so we've talked about some objects that have inspired you and your photograph as well, and also any moments you might have shared inspiration with others. So is there anyone Sorry. So, Paul, you've talked about an object that's inspired you, the photograph that inspired you as well of your family, and also moments where you've had dinner with someone and they've shared some inspiration with you. Have there been any moments where you've shared inspiration with others you'd like to talk about?
So I actually looked up a dictionary definition of inspiration. I was like, well, okay, well, like I think I know what this is, and I always say my events inspire, and I want to inspire people. So I think I do inspire people with my monthly events. That's one thing, definitely. I do try and excite people. I do try and get people to think, get a more positive mindset, so that they're open to new ideas and new ways of thinking. Definitely, I have a lot of conversations with people every week. I've had some today. Like every day of the week, I'm speaking to people who are in business, starting business, or in business, who are looking for new ways to do things. And I can, like, not being a knob about it, but I can see it in their eyes. Like I do inspire when I'm talking to people. But the inspiration comes from within them. I'm just good at getting that out of them.
Yeah,
I'm good at using that inspiration from within. I don't know. That's just practice. I've just done it over many years.
So you're making them aware of the inspiration they already have.
Yeah.
Maybe they just haven't really found it fully, but you're just able to identify it.
Exactly. Like I remember, actually, many years ago, I worked for Shell iVire, which is a youth enterprise scheme funded by Shell, the pep company. And it was all about helping young entrepreneurs, 16 to 30. That was the definition back then. And you'd get people ringing up with an idea, and you could tell they were really nervous and a bit timid on the phone, but then you'd listen to them, you'd like give them some advice and some encouragement. So many times people say, I can't believe you've not laughed at my idea, and you've listened and you've given me some help. And sometimes that's all it needs. It just needs someone to actually listen and like say, yeah, there's something here, but you need to work on this, or you need to look at that. And some people don't know what they don't know, and some ideas are a little bit ridiculous, but I like to think that any idea is, if it's humanly possible, they can do it.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to put the idea out there, don't you? It's like, and getting that sort of, okay, if the idea is good, how do I make it work? It's like thinking, is it practical? Can you actually pull it off? Sometimes once you've got an idea, how do you actually execute that well is probably the next step, I guess.
Yeah, and then I'm going to be a bit more specific now, because I know that's what probably one. So there's a couple of guys who I think Ross and Matt Moran, Ross Cooney and Matt Moran.
Yeah.
They've been in the tech scene for a long time. Used to run the Super Mondays events. Ross went on to be CTO of Iron Property, which is a very successful tech company now. He left that and him and Matt were both working as fractional CTOs. And I met up with them around about February, March time, I think it was. And they saw that I was doing my events and I was back running my own business. And they had a very embryonic idea of what a new business could be. And we met up actually for coffee just downstairs in Tiny. Give it a shout out. And talked through what they were working on. And I suggested a few things where I saw there might be some opportunities. And I suggested a couple of people for them to speak to. And then they were saying, we've still got a bit of work to do. And I was like, well, would you like to speak at my platform event? And they were like, that might be a bit much. I was like, no, well, let's get it booked in. So I just booked them in there. And then I said, right, okay, you're speaking on this date. And they came and they spoke at the event. And by the time they came, that really focused their mind. And they had a fully formulated business plan, idea, website, proposition. And at the event and since the event, they've credited that conversation and that deadline as being a bit of a catalyst to them bringing that business to life. And they're doing really well now. And that's their own ability that's made that successful. But they needed someone or a couple of people to just like help them sort of narrow the focus and
Sort of like that fire. I mean, I remember I was at that event and I was very impressed with their talk. And they said,
2 weeks earlier there was
yeah. And I spoke to them and said, that was a fantastic presentation. They said, oh, that's wonderful because we'd only just put it together last night. I couldn't believe it. It was pitch perfect. It was very clear. It was like a pitch they'd worked on for weeks. I was very impressed. That's what inspired me to kind of do my own presentation about what I was doing. But what they did there and what you helped them do was amazing because you wouldn't know that. They came across very confident. They just needed someone to point them in the right direction, to give them the way they needed to go, basically.
Yeah, good. Well, again, yeah, inspire them. They've inspired themselves and they've inspired you, and I'm sure many others that were there as well. Exactly. And they inspired me as well. You know, they're my events, but I'm loving it. I'm really inspired every time that I do an event. I go away really buzzing and excited and loving what I'm doing.
That's really good to hear, because when you're getting a lot from your own events and getting inspired from the people who are talking there, that's really incredible to hear. So next is basically when you're actually finding inspiration for yourself. You know, when does that actually happen? Does it happen in the morning or in the evening? You know, when do these moments of inspiration happen for you?
I mean, you get inspiration from all kinds of places. I mean, I do just from having conversations like this. You know, this is firing off ideas in my head. I'm like, all right, okay, I want to do this and I want to do that. And so, yeah, having conversations with other entrepreneurs, other business owners, I find that really inspiring and a real privilege to do that almost every day. Events like my events, but other people's events as well. There's so many times I've just been sat in the audience and light bulbs gone off, and I've thought, right, okay, I want to do this now. Just something someone said, just open a little door to a new way of thinking. Personally, I love going for walks. I did a lot of that during the lockdown, like a lot of people probably did. But yeah, long walks, countryside. I love going up to Hadrian's Wall. Probably no surprise going up there. But yeah, and along the coast as well. Just kind of obvious stuff. Music's really powerful as well. I remember music was a massive thing for me when I was growing up. And then I kind of fell out of love with it a little bit. I remember I went through a phase where I was just driving around in silence, like not listening to anything, just the sound of driving. And then, during the lockdown and when I, again, like a new beginning, I suppose, I thought, well, I love music. Why am I not listening to music? So I just music on all the time. Every morning, first thing, as soon as I got up, put music on. Just film, books. I'm a creative person, or I get a lot of inspiration from creativity, and in all its forms. And street art, love graffiti. And anything creative and entrepreneurialism, I think is like an ultimate form of creativity as well. When you're creating something out of nothing, when you're bringing an idea to life, and that's inspiration to me.
No, that's really good. Yeah, because you never know where things might go. I remember you mentioned Super Mondays before, and I know that was a pivotal event for a lot of people in the Northeast like myself, who basically kind of found it as a gateway to all sorts of other events. There was lots of companies and things started from there that kind of helped catapult a lot of the things that happen now from then. And it was good to hear that sort of involved back then as well. You know, it's like to hear those same names still being in this area, now starting their own businesses or whatever. It's really good to see how dynamic things are and how you've been a major part of that as well.
Yeah, thank you. I watched a documentary the last couple of nights all about the punk movement called DOA. It was in 1980. That's when it came out. But it's all about, a large part of it is about the Sex Pistols tour of the US, which is they broke up soon after. But a lot of people talk about the Sex Pistols, going to see the Sex Pistols, and how that was like a famous gig that apparently everyone went to, but there was no way that they went to because it was like hardly anyone there. But how many groups were formed off the back of that? Just that they were a catalyst, and you never know where these catalysts are going to come from. And I like to expose myself to lots of different situations and different environments that are going to inspire me in some way.
Yeah, because you never know when an opportunity might strike. You might be an event and a thought comes to mind, an idea, anything else, you just never know. That's why it's good to go to as many events and things as possible. And I'll go myself to a lot of events in the Northeast. And you kind of bring together a lot of ideas and think, oh, that's something I never thought of, or you might not have even been aware of some of these businesses or whatever any other way. So it's really good to sort of immerse yourself in various different things that are going on in this region, which is always really good.
Yeah.
Right. So it's giving our short autumn courses. It's like made to dry inspiration, I like put away there to find it, and where the methodology is, and they find it.
Yeah, I think so.
That's 3, 2, what?
That's great. Thank you, Paul. So, basically, for other people out there who might want to find their own inspiration, what would you say to them? What can help them basically discover that for themselves?
I think in a way, I think it kind of comes with practice. I mean, some people are more open to it than others, and there's some people who are really close to it. So, I mean, it's a cliche talking about a growth mindset and all that sort of stuff, but definitely, I think if you're just doing the same thing all the time and you're going to the same events or having the same conversations or doing same routines, it's hard to get inspired from that. So, as I mentioned before, just trying new things and going to different types of events, mixing with different types of people. Just being open to new ways of thinking, and that to me that's how I do it, and having lots of conversations with people as well. So yeah, I know it's easy for me to say, and not everyone else can do that. Podcasts, a lot of people listen to podcasts, but again, if someone's working in marketing, they might only listen to marketing podcasts.
Yeah.
But try something different. I suppose like a randomization. It'd be good to have some sort of randomizer.
Yeah.
I don't know, just spin the wheel and see what comes up and have
exactly. Because it might expose you to something different, a different event or a different podcast might inspire a thought you might not have otherwise had. You might not be aware of something, and it makes you aware of that. No, that's a really great idea to kind of take an opportunity where it comes. It might be something you never even thought about. But yeah, I like that idea of a randomizer, just kind of, I don't know what to do today. Let's let chance decide. And you never know what might happen. Maybe nothing, but maybe something. It's good to have that opportunity.
Yeah. Going back to the music element, I love things like Rock Family Trees when you watch programs like that, when it shows the connection between the bandmates or the songwriters or the producers, and how they're all connected and how the different bands split up and then a new one form. I think it'd be great if there was something like that in business, so you could see visually the connections. Long time ago, I remember reading about, can't remember how many there was, but there was a group of entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley, and they've all gone on to form mega successful groups, but they used to hang out together and they all support each other and inspired each other, and invested in each other's businesses or worked for each other's businesses at different points of time. But yeah, something like that would be useful to know the routes to go down. And
it also shows where people have come from. If you're thinking about starting your own business, you can see, these businesses started from something. I mean, Sage would have started out with a couple of people probably originally. So it's good to sort of think, could be me, or at least think someone else could be yourself. You might see how these companies formed and broke up and changed, and realize, well, I could do that too. And that's really good to have that kind of awareness of how they're all connected. Would be quite a good idea, actually.
So someone listen to this, make it happen.
So, Paul, there's one thing that's probably quite an interesting thing to talk about, bring up, is Lord Lancaster. Where does that come from? What's that all about?
Yeah, okay, right. So when I was at school, I was the kid at school and had the records before anyone else, and encyclopedic knowledge of labels and producers and credits and stuff like that. And I wanted to be a DJ. So I was like a bedroom DJ who then became a semi-professional DJ and a producer and a club promoter, and I had my own record label for a while. But when I was still at school, dreaming of being a DJ, I I was doing like tags and stuff, and one of them was DJ Storm kicking up a hurricane. And then Lord Lancaster, just round about the time Judge Jules was on the radio, and I thought, I quite like Lord Lancaster. Anyway, forgot all about it, and then fast forward so many years, I had been DJing and making music, but I worked for Shell Live, who I think I mentioned earlier, and on my first day in the job, they said, right, you're going to be moderating this message board, you've got to come up with a username, and it just popped in my head, Lord Lancaster. I don't know where it came from, and I just, it amused me, and I liked the alliteration, and I liked how it denotes a level of authority, and I just thought it was a fun thing to do, and now all of my social media profiles are Lord Lancaster. It's memorable as well, and I have met Lord Young once, and he asked me, he was like, oh, I was introduced as Lord Young, this is Lord Lancaster. He wasn't that amused, but asked him how he became a real lord, and he said, he looked me up and down and said, have you got a couple of million in the bank? So not yet, but maybe.
You never know.
I've got a ledge. I've got about like an inch wide piece of land somewhere. So
you've got some land. That's great, Paul. Thanks for that. So it's been absolutely fantastic to talk to you. You brought an amazing object, which basically shows the kind of directions you can go in. The photograph of your family, of that moment that brings you a lot of joy. You've also got that dinner with the founder of Sage as well, to think about, and potentially another dinner in the future. And also how you've inspired and been inspired by other people. It's been really great to hear about all that.
Thanks, Peter. I really enjoyed doing that conversation. Very different to anything I've done before, but I really enjoyed it. You got me thinking a bit more deeply about more personal aspects to what I do and what inspires me. And hopefully this has inspired others listening.
Yeah, we hope so too. Yeah, definitely. It's like a lot of people may struggle to find inspiration and things like that. So it really helps to kind of hear from someone like yourself who's helped inspire a lot of people, including myself, and to hopefully inspire them as well. Okay, thank you, Paul. That was a great episode. So if you want to hear another episode from an inspiring individual, then follow or subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts for episodes of Talking Inspiration.
Niltoni Broadcast Network, NBN, popcorn for your ears.